What are we looking at? Well, we are looking at the CJRB Pyrite. Another nice little button lock, as you see it spinning there. Another nice little button lock from CJRB. It's really good. I think it would place a second on my list up there with the Lago, which we did just a few days ago. Really, really good knife. So let's turn this thing around and take a look at it from above. But first, here comes that logo. Well, like I said in the intro, this is the CJRB Pyrite. I know a lot of people like this button lock better than the one I think is better, the Lago, but this is still a really, really good knife. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, but first, we're going to look at a spec sheet that's over here. So if you got any questions about anything on this knife, you can see the spec sheet. So I have carried this a little bit over the last few weeks. It's a very good knife. I just personally like the Lago a little bit better, but we're going to crack into this. So first off, let's do some size comparisons. The first knife you're going to see is the Benchmade 940, which is a pretty common knife. So a lot of people should have an idea here as size comparison. Still, this is a full-sized folding EDC. This is not a small knife. It's also not real big. So there you go. There's your first one. Your next one's going to be the Ferrum Forged Gent, which is a very similar style knife, same style blade and, point of use, just a small gentleman's folder. It's a little bit bigger than the Gent. So if you know the size of this, you should know. But yeah, that's a pretty good comparison between two knives that are very similar, but a little bit different. So maybe 1/4 inch, almost half. So your final knife is going to be, as always, the Chris Reeves Sebenza. So you can see it's a little bit smaller than the Sebenza. Not a lot, but yeah, pretty good size. If a Sebenza is a little bit bigger, a large Sebenza 21 is a little bit bigger than what you're looking for, this might be up your alley. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way and start talking about the knife. So like I said, this was sent to me by Artisan and CJRB, so you can kind of assume this was probably the nicest one that their company rep, Russell, had laying around. But I mean, I've never had any of the stuff I've purchased from them have an issue, so I don't always get stuff from them. But this did come from them, just a little disclaimer, so if you're curious as to where it came from, that is who sent this to me. So you're looking at, this is a prototype done in AR RPM 9, with a really good stone wash on that blade. I am a fan of a good fine stone wash. Blade comes down to a fairly decent finish edge behind the edge. You can see I've used it. It needs a little bit of a touch up, probably just a strop. But this does cut very well. I don't see any issues with the behind the edge geometry, and it's sharpened fairly well. You can see it is very consistent. Now, I will say you may see some differences between how the behind the edge looks and the bevels look and everything, because this is a prototype. The prototypes are done by hand. So it is a button lock or plunger lock. If you're curious about that, let me explain it real quick. You have a tapered plunger that's attached to the button. When you push down on that button, it spins out of the way. You can see how it's a little bit tapered and drops into that little lock cutout there that is on the spine. So it works a lot like other locks. It's just in a different configuration. So there's a little spring. Nice thing about button locks, keeps you out of the way of the travel of the blade, and you don't have to deal with a lock on that side, which I will say I like button locks and liner locks because of the fact there is no change in your ergos. Like when you look at a frame lock, you're going to see that drops in. Now this knife has been chamfered incredibly well. It's not such a big deal, but you do definitely lose a little bit on ergos when that drops in. So overall, cutting on this was a dream. It really cut well. In hand comfort is really good. You've got a little bit of jimping on the spine here, if that's something you're looking for, and this is a thumb stud operator only. The liners on this have been done really well. There's a lot of weight reduction. This is a very, very light knife. If I had a scale available, I had to order batteries for my scale. If I had a scale available, I definitely would weigh it for you, but it is very light. Hopefully the weight's on the spec sheet, whatever one I pull down. You do have a reversible pocket clip for ambidextrous use. You just simply take that screw out and then flip it. You just got to remember which screw goes where and then just flip it back over. So that's what that extra hole is. If you're a guy that wants a lanyard, you got a lanyard hole. We'll talk about that later. And the pocket clip is a fairly deep carry pocket clip. The action is really, really smooth. In carry, this thing was very light, easy to use. I did not have any issues with the maybe bumping into this button and having it come partway open. And the thumb studs are just about perfect for that use. And as you can see, like I said, ambidextrous. Let's see, can I? Yeah, you can very easily operate the knife with both hands. And they've done a little bit of that redacted scales where you can kind of see a little bit of the liner all the way around. That's a good look if it's done well, and CJRB Artisan do a pretty good job of it on their knives. All of the hardware is Torx, so if you've got a Torx set, you can easily do that, take it apart, maintenance and clean it. None of their knives are ever difficult. I don't like taking apart button locks very often because I have big hands. The only reason is there's a spring underneath that plunger. Just be warned. This is a disclaimer. If you decide you want to maintenance a button lock knife, that spring can be the most problematic part, especially if you got big hands. It's not that they're difficult to do. I just have big hands. So all in all, really good knife. I don't like it as much as I like the Lago, but a lot of that is because I'm more preferential to that blade shape. I already have so many knives in this configuration like this that just adding a button lock to it doesn't entice me into it as well as some of the others. But it did perform very well, really comfortable in the cut, and very little that I found that was wrong with the knife. So let's flip this around and we'll look at the bad things about the knife. So there's not much bad, but like I said, if you're being honest about knives, you're always going to find a few bad things. I wish that it had a flipper on it. I don't mind thumb studs, but I am partial to flippers. I like having multiple ways to deploy the knife. Well, this is not bad. This actually is a very, very good thumb stud operator in this button lock configuration. The button lock is very good. There's no stick, no squeak. It's nice and smooth, just about the right amount of tension. And you have got to push the button fairly far to disengage it. So if you happen to be using that knife and you're up on it and you bump that button, you're not going to accidentally disengage it. You can see you might get a little bit of blade rock, but you're not going to disengage it. So that being said, I wish it had a flipper because I like multiple deployment methods. The next thing is the thumb studs are a little sharp on top. I would probably take this and just hit that real quick with something. It's not that they're super sharp, but even with my tough-ish hands as a knife maker, knife sharpener, and doing just general things throughout life, I've got calloused thumbs, but you can see that that is still fairly sharp. The last thing that I would say is it doesn't feel perfect. It doesn't feel the way I would want it in hand. This pocket clip is pretty proud. I think that the Lago fit my hand better because it was a larger knife, and that's part of the thing here. This knife, the way it sits in my hand, that is a hot spot. It digs right into the point where I'm going to put the most pressure on the knife is grabbing it there. These fingers typically in a knife are there for guidance. This is where your grip is. Middle and pinky finger, or ring finger and pinky finger, those are the ones that are gripping the most. These fingers are the fingers that, these two fingers and the thumb are the fingers that are doing the guiding of the knife. So I would have been happier with a much smaller pocket clip, but there is a plus. Artisan and CJRB on the websites, they sell a replacement pocket clip that will fit this, I would imagine. I believe you have to screw it in from the bottom, but it's a little titanium pocket clip. I have the same one on my Rhea. So you could replace this with a different pocket clip if you wanted to. They may actually have one that screws from the top. So, and the final thing is, I'm not a fan of the jimping. If you're going to give me jimping, I would much rather that you are giving me sharp jimping that there's no chance I'm going to slide up and over on. There's not much to complain about on this knife. I do understand why people love it so much. And then the final thing, of course, I don't like not thumb studs. I don't like lanyard holes. I would prefer that they did it in a fashion where you had something like this lanyard post. There's some CGR, the Rhea, as a matter of fact, has got a removable pin that acts just like this that you can use to put a lanyard on, or if you have a backspacer, you can do it. I don't like lanyard holes. I do understand why people would want lanyards, especially if it's a smaller knife and it aids in pulling it out of the pocket and it gives you that extra little finger. But on this one, it's not really an issue. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the look. I don't even like this. I wish there was another screw there. I just don't like empty holes in knives. It kind of makes it look cheap-ish. I know there's a lot of really expensive knives, case in point, that have holes in them. I don't like it on this one either. So for me, that's all aesthetics. But if you like lanyards, you've got yourself one, a nice lanyard hole. And it's out of the travel of the blade, so I don't think if you did put an expensive bead on a lanyard, such as this $100 octopus bead, I don't think you would have to worry about your lanyard getting cut and losing your expensive bead that was on your lanyard. So that being said, guys, that's all I've got on this one. It's a good knife. I just happen to like the Lago a little bit better. I wanted to get these CGRB button locks done. This one didn't get as much pocket time as the Lago because, well, I just like the Lago a lot more. So let's turn around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day. There you go, guys. This is a really nice little knife. I think hand size and everything, that the Lago just fits what I want a little bit better. And I like the fact that it has a flipper. I am a real big fan of multiple forms of deployment. Like, you can give me a knife that's a front flipper as long as there's other options, either an aperture or things like that. And I usually don't complain too much. I definitely like having the ability to have more than one way to deploy the knife. This is just a little bit more limited. So all in all, really good knife though. So guys, if you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down, but please try to tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. If you do hit that bell icon, make sure you've got it set for all and turn notifications on your device, or you will not get notified of everything that goes up. If you want to support the channel financially, there are a bunch of ways. The best way really to do it is the affiliate links down below. I have a ton of affiliate links, gear, knives, tools, all kinds of stuff, but I have a couple that are up towards the top because they save you money at checkout. Doll Strong knives, if you're looking for really good sharpening stones or really good kitchen knives. I'm not saying they're custom quality, but they are really good quality production kitchen knives. Doll Strong knives, I have a 10% discount associated with my affiliate Coffee Brand Coffee, which is the coffee I always drink here in the shop, is a 5% discount at checkout with my affiliate link. And my Atlas VPN, I think, is still running a holiday 80% off for a 2-year subscription to Atlas VPN. That's the VPN that I use here at the house. So all those are ways that you guys can support the channel. Other ways you can do it: I have a membership that is tier-based. Everyone has access to the Gilded server. Baseline and premium tier members are automatically entered into a giveaway I do on the Gilded server. And the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series right here on YouTube. And the final was, I have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. where I can save you 10% at checkout at Ember Shirt Co. on my merchandise or other creators' merchandise with the coupon code CrazySharp. Capital C, capital S, CrazySharp, all one word, saves you 10% at checkout. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I will see you in the next video.